Hey guys, welcome to another episode of the Life in General podcast. My name is Nick.
My name is Ian.
My name is Ian. What's going on, Ian?
No.
Oh, someone's so for the Vinyl Den, if you don't know, we have a YouTube channel called the Vinyl Den. But anyway, someone made a comment on our video last week, I think it was, about how we should have a t-shirt that says nothing but and I'm Ian. I just thought that was really kind of funny, but you must not have seen that comment.
I didn't. No.
Ian never sees any of the comments. So what's going on, Ian?
Nothing.
Nothing's going on.
Absolutely nothing.
Nothing has happened since the...
Well, I survived the big Rona. Barely, because it was rough on me.
If you listen to the last episode of the podcast, yes, you can listen to Ian with COVID.
Well, yeah.
You didn't know it at the time.
I didn't know it. I just thought I had a cough or something, which I did, but it turned out to be the big C.
The big vid.
Yeah.
It's funny, though, because I guess it's kind of like you return the favor, because when I caught COVID, we recorded.
Right.
And I didn't know it.
And you didn't know it.
And Ian was all mad that I exposed him.
Yeah, it was.
And you didn't catch it, and then you caught it from work.
Months later, I catch it from work.
Yeah, because I got it back in January, beginning of January, so. Yeah, fun times. Yeah, you were kind of sick though, weren't you?
It got really bad. My fever was the worst part.
See, because I didn't have any fever or anything.
Oh yeah, I was super feverish.
Even
taking ibuprofen wasn't
really
cutting the fever for almost 2 days. Yeah.
Because when I had it, I just had body aches.
Yeah, I had those too
for a day, and then a runny nose. That was kind of the main thing I had.
Yeah. No, I got the cough, runny nose, yes, but not any worse than my allergies anyway.
Yeah.
But I got the cough. I still have the cough. It's not as bad, obviously. My throat, when I coughed, it felt like I was...
Oh, yeah.
I had razor blades.
Yeah, I had a really sore throat also.
Yeah, every time you cough, it's like you're coughing up razor blades in your throat. It was terrible. But really, the worst part, honestly, was the fever. I've never had a fever like that in my life.
Yeah. It was funny. I was at work last night, and I was at check-in, as I typically am, it seems like. And this lady comes in and checks them, and I'm kind of talking to her, getting her information, and then the screener nurse, screens her for COVID and everything else that they do, and then sends the person down to get vitals. Mm-hmm. And I was like, hey, she sounded like she's got some COVID symptoms going on. And screener is like, yeah, I don't think so. I said, well, she said she had been a little short of breath, and she also said she had a cough. And she's like, nah, I think it's something else going on. I was like, okay. And then she's in the middle of getting vitals, I hear the patient go, well, I have been kind of feverish the last couple of days.
Which she didn't say to her initial screening?
No, so the nurse next to me is like, all right, well, she's a PUI now. So I said, well, maybe you should just listen to me in the first place.
Right.
I did talk to the patient. I did get the information from them. Because I talk to people a little more than other people do in our position, but
we're not qualified to talk to them about anything beyond their information.
Well, that's not necessarily true.
Yeah, okay, you're right. I can diagnose anyone.
No, that's not what I'm saying. That's not what I'm saying at all. But you can.
I can have conversation, but I'm not going to ask them their medical.
No, and I wasn't asking her anything. Yeah. It was just this was all shit that she's telling me.
Oh yeah, they tell me stuff all the time, and I was telling them you're talking way above my pay grade. I just need your name and birth date.
But it's kind of funny. I was like, come on, Sarah. I was right. Actually, that's kind of funny, though.
Yeah. And
it's funny.
Even a broken clock is right
whatever,
once or twice a day.
I will tell you, there's been several times where someone's come in to get checked in the emergency department. I'll get them all checked in, and I'm like, yeah, they should probably get tested for COVID.
Right.
And they don't. And then I get an email about it the next day that person tested positive. Right. And it's happened several times.
Oh, every one of those emails you get is because of that.
Well, I know that. But I'm just saying, though, it's a lot of the times, I'm like, yeah, they should probably get tested.
Right.
And
I do that
and then
too in
they
my head.
don't.
It's like people come in and you get used to hearing the same stuff over and over again, and you kind of know what. Well, okay, I pretty much know they're going to have that or they're this. And
she coughed when she was checking in, and I was like, that sounded like COVID cough.
Yeah, it's weird because
you hear it enough.
I mean, just because you have a cough doesn't mean you have COVID.
No,
but these days, anyone who even like sniffles, it's like,
depending on where you're at.
Yeah.
I don't know. So I was in. So we were the first. So the hospital we work at it was the first hospital in the country to have an ICU integrated into our emergency department. Mm-hmm. So it's called the Emergency Critical Care Center. And actually, it's kind of funny. I was doing a paper for a school within the last couple of weeks. And it was a research paper. So I've been like researching topics, the topic that I don't even remember what it was writing about. But I pulled up this article and I was reading this article and I was like, I noticed the name at the top. Mm-hmm. And I was like, oh shit, this is the whole paper. This was a research paper about the critical care center. It was like all of our attendings' names were on it.
Oh, okay.
So I was like, hey, that's kind of cool. But so I was over there yesterday, I think yesterday, the day before. And that's where all of like your most critical patients come in through a separate door into the actual ICU section. So I'm over there, and I don't even remember what this patient was coming in for, but she was coming from I will say, more rural area in southeastern Michigan.
Okay.
I won't get too specific on there, but
Right.
I get up and like meet the ambulance as they pull in, because we get a page when like traumas and stuff are coming in.
Right.
So I go out there, and these guys get out of the back of the truck, and like right away, I was like, man, these guys look like a couple of fucking idiots. And so they get the patient off, and I get the paperwork from them, and they're getting the patient on the back of the rig, and they start wheeling the patient towards the hospital. And I said, hey, do you guys have masks? And the one guy looks at me and goes, no, where we're from, we don't deal with it. We don't mess with that shit. I said, well, if you're going to come inside the hospital, you need to put a mask on. So they got to the door. I made them stay outside, and I went and got them fucking masks. And then by the time I checked the patient in, I got back to the trauma bay, and the one guy still wouldn't put his fucking mask on.
Yeah.
These people are fucking idiots. You're
Right.
inside a fucking hospital.
Right.
Like,
Yeah, I mean, it's...
Especially since, like, you're inside the ICU in a fucking hospital.
That's what I don't understand. When people come in and they're coming in sick. I mean,
Yeah.
they're coming in for a reason, and they're not wearing a mask. It's like you're going to be sitting around a bunch of other people who are sick.
Yeah.
We do try to isolate all the COVID that we know, but as you pointed out, we get
Yeah,
there's get through.
There's definitely, because there's a lot of people that are still have COVID and are still asymptomatic. So
right.
yes, if you come in with respiratory symptoms, we've got multiple different waiting areas. We have our main waiting area, we have a COVID positive waiting room, and then we have PUIs, which people under investigation for respiratory or COVID symptoms.
Try and keep them out of the general population as much as possible.
So we have we segregate people into different areas. So if you come in and you don't have any symptoms, if you come in for a broken fucking leg, we're not going to put you in one of the other waiting rooms unless you have respiratory symptoms.
Right.
And then you would test positive, because we test everyone before they get admitted. So then a lot of people end up, well, if you're asymptomatic, you test positive before you get admitted upstairs. So, so yeah, we try to segregate people as much as we can, but obviously not everyone gets
People
put
get
aside.
through, yeah.
But there was a guy that came in last night who they got him up to the counter, and he's like, and the nurse is like, here, you need to put a mask on. He's like, I can't wear a mask. I can't breathe.
Yes, she can.
And the nurse is like holding the mask. All right, sir, have you been tested for COVID in the last 3 weeks? He goes, yeah, I tested positive yesterday.
Then
He's
you
like,
need to put
he's
a
like,
fucking mask.
You have to wear this mask inside the hospital.
Right.
Like, he's sitting there coughing and can't
Right.
breathe. And there's elderly people in the waiting room. There's people that are, within the more vulnerable demographics.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So just people are fucking
And you can
idiots.
still get it wearing a mask.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, I don't take my mask off at work
You do on
to
occasion.
take a drink or something, but
Yeah.
it's usually no one's around me when I do
Yeah.
it. I'm very, I wouldn't say discreet, but I'm strategic about when I do that.
I know, and I don't take my mask off other than eating or drinking at work also.
Right.
But
So you can still get it with the mask on. The mask is just
It's
one
part-
layer of the protection.
part of the puzzle.
Yes.
It's not the answer.
Right.
That's why. And that's
Well,
what.
that's what most people fight about. They're like, oh, it doesn't even help. No, it's one part. You know, I know your brain is only working on 2 dimensions, but if you extend it out to the normal reality of 3, you're fine.
People have a hard time understanding that there are 2 things can go on.
Right.
Like, and I didn't want to really get into this because it's a kind of a dark topic, but with the school shooting that just happened in Texas, I can't tell you how many times I've seen posts over the last couple of days. Well, guns are banned in Chicago, guns are banned in New York.
Mm-hmm.
I'm
Like
like,
nowhere else around.
but
those
no,
guns can come
my
in.
whole thing is whenever people talk about that, I'm like, yes, that's also a problem.
Mm-hmm.
Like those are 2 different problems. We can do 2 things at once. Like we can address gun violence in schools. We can address gun violence in inner cities. There are 2 different things that happen for 2 different reasons.
Right.
And I'm tired of people saying, well, like the Greg Abbott, the governor of Texas, he's like, oh, well, we need to address mental health issues.
Yeah.
There's nothing in this kid's history that has ever, would lead anyone to think he has any kind of mental issues.
Regardless, he's right. We do. But the problem is the same people who are saying we need more guns are the ones cutting funding to all the mental health programs in the country and have been for 40 fucking years.
And then this report comes out. I read it yesterday that, so the cops had this kid barricaded inside the school for like 40 minutes.
Right.
There were cops that went inside the school, got their kids, and then fucking left while the shooting, while it was going on. While they had him barricaded, yes.
Wow, I didn't hear that.
Yeah, when they went inside and got their own kids. There was a school resource officer that was there when it happened. Mm-hmm. There was a school resource officer when the Parkland shooting happened down in Florida also. He hid behind his fucking car.
No, I remember that, yeah.
And that's the whole thing is I heard a couple of nurses talking at work a couple of nights ago. Well, you need to arm teachers.
Why do we need to make our teachers fucking soldiers?
I know that's exactly my point. And the whole thing is like, look, my wife has been a teacher for 20 years. I'm going to tell you right now, I don't want my wife carrying a fucking gun into a school.
Right. She shouldn't have to. It's
she
a fucking school.
And the other thing is they're like, well, we need to have metal detectors. Well, I'm going to tell you, a metal detector isn't going to do anything. The kid 18-year-old kid walks into a school wearing fucking body armor. A metal detector is not going to fucking do anything.
Right.
Your teacher with her fucking 9mm in her fucking in her purse isn't going to do anything against someone with body armor on.
Right.
That was the whole thing with the the Aurora, Colorado shooting when the kid went into the movie theater. He was dressed head to toe in body armor.
Right.
The only reason that the cops were able to arrest him is because he had to stop to reload.
Right.
Now, other than that, they can't. What are they going to do?
Yeah.
When citizens are able to arm themselves, not only with military style weapons and large capacity clips, but also cover themselves in military grade body armor, that's a fucking problem.
It is.
And when you're a police officer, they said that it took them so long to go into the school because they had to wait for the SWAT team to get there because they were outgunned by this kid. That's also a problem.
Right.
Like when normal citizens are able to outgun the police, it's a fucking problem.
Right. And arming the police with military style weapons isn't the answer either because then you're just creating a military.
Yes.
The arguments are flawed, and the argument against banning, obviously, you ban guns, criminals are still going to find a way to get them, but they won't just be laying around. An 18-year-old won't be able to walk in and buy guns and then go shoot up a school. I
saw somebody posted. I have not read this, so I have not been able to verify this information. But somebody said on social media that his parents gave him the gun. I don't know if that's true or not.
That's what happened in Oxford.
That's what happened here in Michigan, yes.
Yeah. So
I don't know. Someone said that he was given the gun as a present, and then he shot his grandmother in her face.
Yeah, I know he shot her. I know where he shot her.
Yeah, he shot her in the face. And she's still in critical condition.
Oh, she didn't die?
Not yet.
I thought, because every time they talk about the casualties, they list her as one of them.
I don't know. Yeah, maybe she did. I just haven't seen it. Yeah. But at one point,
they were doing that on day one.
Well, no, I know she was still alive, like at least a day or two after. We can do multiple things at one time. Yes, School shootings is a big fucking problem.
Right.
We need to address that. And gun violence in the inner cities is a fucking problem, and we need to address that also.
Right. And mental health issues.
But yes.
But it's a separate issue that there's connection, but there's all separate issues.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's a big Venn diagram with separate bubbles that do overlap.
Right. Exactly. I don't know. I'm just gotten so sick and tired of it, even hearing about it, because the people who are responsible for making those decisions and pushing agendas, they're already bought and paid for, so they're not going to do anything to change it. And you can hear it in the rhetoric. You can hear it in the things they say. They're just passing the buck along, and they're going to keep doing it.
Like, what's Beto O'Rourke? Did you see him interrupt the press conference?
I'm not sure how well if that would help his chances or anything, but I applaud him for doing it.
Well, I mean, he's running against Greg Abbott in Texas for governor, so we'll see what happens with that race. I will say that it was interesting to see the Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell come out not in defense of the gun lobby and some of the stuff that he said over the last several days. So I don't know. You're right. Nothing is going to fucking happen.
No,
nothing that they're going to do over the next month is going to solve anything. But it'll keep going on. But the funny thing is, and here my whole thing about this is, and like I said, I really don't want to talk about this, but now that I'm going down that path,
right?
This is a strictly American thing.
It is.
This is a strictly American issue. They have mental health issues everywhere else in the world.
Mm-hmm.
This is the only place in the world where this happens. Well, the only industrialized nation.
And to be fair, even though I think most countries have slightly stricter gun laws, there are countries where you're allowed to own weapons, and this still doesn't happen.
Yeah.
So, I to play devil's advocate a little bit,
it's gun culture is what it is.
It is. It's the gun culture. It's the culture of, I don't even know, but you're right. It's become a distinctly American cultural thing, and I don't see how people can look at that and think that we're still the greatest nation in the world.
We are the greatest nation in the world when it comes to shooting kids in schools.
Right. I guess we have greatness.
Yeah, we have greatness.
We have our levels. Americans are good at one thing, and we're just going to keep doing that.
But I did want to. There was something else I want to talk about before we get into our topic.
Mm-hmm.
And this is a little segment that I'm going to call "What's Pissing Nick Off in Social Media This Week." So I live in a small town, right?
Right.
And there's a street in our town here. Let me see if I can pull this up while I'm talking. That I think a couple years back, within the last several years, they had to replace the street in this residential neighborhood. Mm-hmm. And it's not like a residential neighborhood, like a subdivision. It's like a old school neighborhood,
yep.
Right? And so they had to replace this street. And for some reason, the town, the village or whatever it is, didn't pay for it.
Money came from the state.
The residents of the street had to pay a tax to fix the street. Yeah. Okay. And there at the end of the street it's not really the end of the street, it's a long road, but there's some kind of industrial plant on this street.
Okay.
It's been there for 50, 60 years, whatever it is. And it's because the road got tore up because of all the semis that go up and down it. There are other ways for semis to make it to that plant without driving down this residential road. Mm. So the people that live on the street were like, hey, look, we paid for this road to get fixed. This road is not built to withstand the weight of all these semis. Mm-hmm. So they petitioned, or they asked the town to make it a no truck route. And they granted it.
Okay.
But since then, they've been having issues because semis continue to go up and down this road. It got to the point where they asked the police have been sitting out there now in this residential area, and pulling people over and giving them tickets. So I'm on this like Facebook group. I'm still trying to find this damn thing. Oh, here it is. So I'm in this Facebook group for our town. Right. And for being a little small town that I live in, we've got a lot of fucking Facebook groups for our town. But anyway, this one is like anyone in like the general area can join this group. It's nothing like specific to my town here. But so they posted a picture in this Facebook group and said, the past 2 days have been crazy with trucks. Here is another driver who ignored the numerous flags and signs, and took a picture of this semi coming down her road. And when she originally posted this, because she went and edited it to change the wording a little bit, but when she originally posted it, she said something along the lines of, I guess this is another truck driver who can't read. And like people were losing their shit, and it was like almost comical, right?
Right.
And like people were this one comment. I don't see if I can scroll through here and find it, but like this guy, he said, well, why are you hating on truck drivers?
She's not. She's hating on the ones breaking the fucking law.
So of course, me being me, I had to jump into this conversation. And there was like this long back and forth with several people in this group or in this comment thread. And that's kind of what it all went back to. They're like, well, this one guy's like, well, you wouldn't be able to live. You wouldn't be able to eat if it weren't for truck drivers. And I'm like, okay, that's fine, but so just because they're allowed to break laws and city or town ordinances, like
it all goes back to that all those issues with the masks and the truckers. They became heroes to these people, and they've now glorified them the same way they glorify the military when it suits them and police when it suits them. You make them heroes and they can get away with stuff. Police officer kills a black man, an unarmed black man. Well, what happens if you get rid of all the police? And then what are you going to do?
Exactly.
They idolize and they glorify these people in order to fit their agendas.
Yeah.
And this is just a continuation of that. It really doesn't push an agenda, but they had to canonize these truck drivers over the mask situation. So you have to extend that beyond. That's what that comes from.
I wonder if the guy deleted the comment. Hold on. It's clicked on top. I hate it when it does that. My phone like defaults to top comments instead of all comments. Because I was trying to remember exactly what the hell he said. Because I was like, at first I was like, I'm just going to keep on scrolling.
Right.
And I was like, no. Oh, okay. Here's the comment. So, and I was pretty close to what he said too. He said, this is like the very first comment back to this person once they posted it. Why are you hating on truck drivers? They have routes. They have routes they have to follow. I'm assuming he means follow. I'm like, okay, that's fine, but it's a no truck route. Like, go a different way.
Right.
There's these two big signs at the end of the street that say no trucks. And apparently they were still having problems with people driving down there. So they put these two big red flags on the top of each fucking sign to make it more noticeable that you can't go down there.
Right.
And, it just kept going on. And then... No, I said no one's hating on truck drivers. There are reasons why semis aren't allowed on certain roads, which is what it is. And and I even posted a comment in the group, in this thread, and I was like, how many other no truck routes do we have in our neighborhood, in our town? And someone posted like a whole list of them, because that's what I kept saying is, well, why did these people only get?
Well, they had to pay for their own fucking road.
That's what I'm saying though. They keep saying, well, why do these people have the only road in our neighborhood or in our town that has a no truck route? And this one person's like, there are many of them. There's actually only like maybe 8 or 10 different roads that trucks can go down in our town.
Right.
Like, so this isn't even an issue. But it was funny. Like, I couldn't tell you, there was countless comments that were, well, you need to leave truck drivers alone, and this and that. And my whole thing was, I remember I commented back to one of them. I was like, stop being so sensitive.
Right.
Just because someone said that, or said something against truck drivers, it doesn't like automatically mean they're attacking them.
Right.
All this lady was saying
she didn't call for the heads of all the truck drivers.
Someone did say in the comment thread that, and that's why some of the stuff gets kind of funny, because someone was like, I hate truck drivers. So then that started a whole other argument. But it was just kind of comical.
Why can't people just hate each other for being people?
Yeah.
I mean, that's bad enough. Why do you have to single them out based on their occupation or whatever?
I'm going to tell
other
you,
than politicians and lawyers.
I'm going to tell you right now, there's a lot of people in my town that hate people because they're people, or hate people for other reasons.
Oh, I know. So
minorities,
right. I don't know. I don't get it. I don't get hate. I don't get any of it.
Like
there's things I hate and there's people I hate, but there's specific reasons why I hate these people, and there are not that many of them.
Yeah, like I've met some really good truck drivers before, and in the line of work that I've worked in for 15 years, I met a lot of truck drivers. I'm talking thousands of truck drivers I've talked to and had conversations with.
Well, we both worked in shipping and receiving.
So and there were some really good ones I dealt with. I'm going to tell you though,
there's some shitty ones.
They were the minority. Yeah. Like a vast majority of the truck drivers I dealt with.
Are they that way because they're truck drivers, or are they just that way because that's their personality?
I think it's because that's their personality.
Yeah.
And a lot of them I think that are that way drive trucks for a living because they can't
drive. Well, I guess the argument can be made that there's a certain personality type that's attracted to police work too.
I guess it probably.
So I get it, but I still don't like singling people out based on their fucking job.
No. I'm not trying to, but
no,
I'm saying
that
that there's a lot of them that are like. Right. I don't know if I told. I probably told you this story before, but anyway, I was unloading a truck down in when I worked down in Tennessee, and this guy gets out of his truck, and I'm talking to him for a couple minutes before I start unloading him, and I don't remember how the conversation really started, but out of like nowhere, he's like, "Yeah, I had to move in with my mom." Well, he said my mom and them, because that's just how we talked. But and I was like, "Oh yeah, what happened?" He's like, "Yeah, man, my wife fucking kicked me out of the house." I said, "Oh man, that really sucks." He's like, "Yeah, I meant to hit the bitch, but I didn't mean to knock her teeth out." And I was like, where the fuck am I at? Like,
well,
welcome to the South.
Exactly. I mean, you should have known better.
And the conversation went on from there, like for several minutes, about why he didn't understand why she kicked him out. And he's like, "This is bullshit." And I'm like,
I would have said so. I would have like, "You punched her, right?" Yeah. That's usually a pretty good reason to get kicked out.
Yeah. I had another truck driver in rather graphic detail explain to me how to have sex with a chicken.
Oh.
Yeah,
okay.
In very graphic detail.
Yeah.
Like to the point where I'm like, this motherfucker has done that before.
Then I can only ask again, and I've asked this question many, many times. Why did we keep the South? We should have just let them go. I mean, fight the war to end slavery, but once slavery's over, we just go, yeah, okay.
See ya.
You guys are on your own. Just don't do the slavery thing. Because if you do, we're going to go back to war.
Or just send all the former slaves to the north, and you guys can do whatever you want.
You can do whatever you want, right? No, I don't want, no, because they'll start enslaving each other then.
Yeah, probably.
Slavery's bad no matter what.
That's great. But I remember I had another truck driver. Well, he wasn't a truck driver. It was a guy I worked with, but his brother drove semis down in Alabama. And he told me that his brother did not like to stop. When he was out making deliveries or out on his route, he did not stop unless he had to get gas.
Mm-hmm.
So he said he would keep a bucket next to the seat in the cab of his truck. And whenever he had to take a shit, he would just take a shit in the bucket. Well, he put a bag in the bucket.
Right.
He's civilized. Shit in the bag, and then you take off down the road and just take the bag and throw the bag out the window.
Oh.
I didn't mean this to turn into
truck
driver
now I have
stories.
to ask some logistical questions.
Okay.
So he doesn't want to stop, but he'd still have to stop to put his ass on the bucket.
Because he just pulls over to the side of the road.
Rather than stopping at a stop, an actual stop.
Yeah.
Seems to me like stops would be safer. Is it? I mean, what was his concern? Was he African American?
No.
Because I could understand an African American truck driver being afraid to stop anywhere in the South.
The guy I worked with was from like the backwoods of Alabama.
Then what the hell was he afraid of?
I don't think he was afraid of anything. He just didn't want to stop. He's like, I'm not going to stop and shit anywhere. I'm just going to shit in this bucket.
Oh, he was doing it for time.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just because he didn't want to stop. He would just shit in a bucket.
Okay. I mean, whatever gets you through. The whole throwing it out the window thing is a little inconsiderate, if you ask me. Pushing some boundaries of rudeness. But
hey, a little shit on your windshield. It's all right.
Oh, God. I can only imagine.
Is it raining mud out here? Must be mud coming from that semi.
You know what, though? Poop is like one of two things in the whole world that truly gross me out.
Really? What's the other?
Vomit. I really can't. I can't handle vomit.
Yeah.
Even sometimes when you hear people throwing up, it's like
Working in the hospital hasn't broke you to that though.
Not really. Well, the sound, I can handle the sound of it. I still can't see it. It's
Yeah.
it still grosses me. And feces will always be a problem for me.
I used to not like even the sound of vomit.
Yeah.
But I got to the point where like I'd be at work, like it'd be really busy, and they'd buy us pizza, and I'd be like sitting at the desk eating pizza. And, like I'm not kidding you, it's like 5 feet away from me. Someone was like puking from their feet.
I couldn't do that.
Eating.
Puking from their feet.
Yeah, no, I was like, where you get
Really
really
full
deep.
body vomit. Where you're afraid their insides are going to flop out and go back in.
Yeah.
I've only been that sick once in my entire life.
A prolapsed innards is what that is.
Yeah. But yeah, I've only ever been that sick once, and that was from food poisoning.
Yeah. Yeah, so none of that kind of stuff. I don't think there's anything. Like
that's it. I mean,
I can't think of anything that grosses
I don't
me
think
out.
I would go out of my way to watch surgery on an eyeball because that would kind of freak me out. But I think my curiosity might take over for me if I had the opportunity.
Yeah.
But yeah, vomit and feces I can't handle.
I've seen those videos where because you used to have, was it like the surgery channel? Is that what that was?
I
was
know
something
they
like that.
started with like TLC and
No, there was like a whole channel where they would like show you surgeries and stuff like
Right.
that back in the like late 90s. And I remember they were watching an eye surgery one day where they like take the
lens off.
Yeah, where they cut the lens off your eye. It was definitely interesting to watch, but that kind of stuff I guess might bother me, but I don't know.
Like I said,
I've seen people like cut in half and like all sorts of crazy shit now. It's like
it's not that stuff doesn't bother me. Blood and guts I can see all day long. Doesn't bother me at all.
Yeah.
Blood, none of that. Doesn't bother me. Feces and vomit for some. I don't know what it is, but those two things, like my own feces bothers me.
Yeah. I guess like facial trauma might kind of bother me a little bit. Like any kind of, I remember we had a guy that came in, him and his buddy were driving down the highway. No, they weren't driving down the highway. They were driving like down like a back road, but it was like a main back road. It was just, it wasn't on the highway. But anyway, he was in the passenger seat. His buddy was driving, and they're driving behind a semi. And some kind of big piece of metal came off of the semi in front of them, came through the windshield, hit the passenger in the face, and like completely like mushed one side of his face, right? And he came in a cardiac arrest, ended up dying. But I guess when I saw his face, I was like, ooh, it's...
Yeah, I mean, there should be a reaction. You kind of want there to still be some reaction. But no, I mean, my reaction would be the same, like, ooh, but I wouldn't feel any like, anything from it other than that, that shock, that initial shock. Vomit and feces though, like just the idea of it makes my skin crawl. There's just something gross about it. The whole process of digestion is just disgusting.
There's a lot more, that's where you get the bacteria from. Like if you get vomit or feces on you, there's like bacteria and stuff. There's where it's like I remember I was talking to somebody we work with last night, and she said that she was at a country music concert, surprisingly enough, and she said she was standing like towards the front of the stage, and this is like in a big open field or whatever it was, how country people do it, but
barn. It was in a barn.
But anyway, she's standing there.
It's a cornfield,
and she felt something like hit her back of her leg. And she was there with her cousin, who we also work with, and she said she turned around, her and her cousin turned around, and there's a guy standing there with his dick in his hand, peeing
on her.
And he was peeing on the ground, but it was splashing on her. So her cousin was like, "What the fuck are you doing?" And he's like, "Well, I don't want to lose my spot in the crowd." And I was like, "Well, at least it was urine and it's sterile,
right?"
It's not like
it can still carry things, but
it's very unlikely.
Is it?
Yeah. Urine for the most part.
Urine doesn't really bother me.
Urine is mainly water,
right?
Like you're not going to catch anything from it. You can have bacteria in your urine and things like that, but
that's a symptom of another problem.
Yes. Normally your urine is sterile.
You mean it's not supposed to burn every time you pee? What?
That is not a good thing.
Yeah. It's like razor blades in my urine. God. I'm kidding. That's not, I'm just saying. Yeah, urine doesn't bother me at all. Not a bit. I mean, I don't want to go, I don't want anyone thinking they can pee on me, but if you do, I'm not going to throw up. If you throw up on me, I'm going to throw up. If you poop anywhere near me, I might throw up. But urine isn't going to make me vomit. It'll piss me off, literally, but it won't make me vomit.
There is I remember another guy that came in the emergency department. This is like, I think right when I first started working there. But he was out on a pedal bike, and he had flipped over the handlebars. And as he flipped, the handlebars spun, and the brake handle went through his eye.
Ooh.
And someone like walked up and found him laying on the side of the road like that. Didn't know how long he'd been laying there.
Holy cow.
So they bring him in, and the fire department just like cut the handle off.
So it was still in his eye.
So he comes in with this brake handle sticking out of his eye, and they pull up the scans, and the handle had actually gone through his eye and through the skull and into his brain.
Ugh. And he was still alive?
I don't know. 2 days later, he was still an unknown patient upstairs. So
Yeah.
I'm assuming he probably never. I went through his belongings because we tried to find out who he was.
Right.
And the only thing he had was an empty bottle of Wild Irish Rose and a empty 2 liter bottle. Well, it used to be empty. A 2 liter bottle filled halfway up with what looked like urine.
Oh.
So that was the only thing he had in his backpack.
Huh.
So yeah, it's unfortunate, but so I got
He was bottling his urine, and he wasn't even a truck driver.
That's just feces.
Oh, yes. Never mind.
So I guess that's a facial trauma that didn't really like bother me
Right.
when it came in.
And that would be an intense one to see. I mean, I've never seen anything like that. And obviously, like movies, special effects, we've seen shit like that.
And now that it's getting warm out, I've seen a lot of motorcycle accidents.
Mm-hmm.
And here in Michigan, you don't have to wear a helmet. So I've seen some pretty nasty facial road rash lately too. So
well, I'm starting to see why we don't care about helmets in Michigan, because you see how stupid these people are. A lot of people are. They don't care.
Yeah, there was actually a conversation a year or two back of trying to ban seat belts in Michigan. Because their whole
Well, you can't ban them. They can just not make them mandatory.
yeah. Well, I guess that's kind of what I was saying though, because their logic is, well, if you don't have to wear a helmet riding a motorcycle,
Well, and then we bitch about why our fucking car insurance is so goddamn high.
or health insurance, because your health insurance should be taking care of that. But.
Right. Still, insurance costs go up because of this shit. Because they're not.
Actually, I'm going to tell you, and I was reading something else recently that I didn't think about, and it makes me think about the Affordable Care Act in a very different way. Mm-hmm. Because really, the Affordable Care Act has, although I understand that it's helped a lot of people get insured. Mm-hmm. A lot of people that did not have insurance before are able to get insurance now. It's gotten rid of a lot of caps on things where people aren't going bankrupt because of their health care. So I'm not saying like it's a bad thing, let's get rid of it.
Right.
But
definitely needs to be revised.
But the Affordable Care Act, I didn't realize this, has caused the cost of insurance to skyrocket. And this is why. So, and I was reading this article about a lady who, I think it was in New York or New Jersey. Mm-hmm. She was sick, went to the doctor, got a nasal swab, right? And then went home. And a couple weeks go by and she gets a bill for $25,000 or $26,000 for this nasal swab. Mm-hmm. And surprisingly enough, she didn't pay a penny of it. The insurance company paid for all of it, right?
Okay.
So what insurance companies are doing, because the Affordable Care Act requires insurance companies to pay out 80% of the money they bring in. So 80% of the premiums that are paid to the insurance company, they have to pay out, right? Mm-hmm. So they get to keep 20% for overhead and salaries. Mm-hmm. So what insurance companies have been doing for the past decade or so is they're overpaying for like everything. You submit something to the insurance company, they're gonna fucking pay it.
Right.
because the more money they pay out the next year, they could charge more for premiums, and then that 20% they get gets even bigger.
Right.
So that's kind of where that's a big issue.
Right. Instead of keeping it like a flat thing where 80% gets paid out, 20%, and premiums are all, it's kind of a set thing. Everything's going up because they're overly inflating the system.
Yes.
Big surprise. Like
So,
all the companies are, everything's
But
doing
here's
that
the other
now.
thing that's shitty about this situation. So the doctor that did the nasal swab is affiliated, like like, I don't know if it's like the group that owns his office, also owns the lab that the specimen that the swab went to. So he's making money. He's overcharging the patient. Right. So he's getting rich off of these high prices because he knows the insurance company is going to pay it. So the insurance company the next year can jack up your rates and make themselves more money. That's a fucking problem. That's a big fucking problem.
It is, but I keep sitting here, I'm thinking, I'm not surprised. There's no surprise here.
No, there isn't. But I guess I just never thought about it that way.
Right.
Though.
You just, whenever you put, I mean, I understand profit. I mean, I understand capitalism. It is necessary, at least for now. But not untethered capitalism.
Yeah.
But, capitalism makes sense. The thing is that because we live in a society that seems to want to untether capitalism,
yeah,
it's always going to be this way. It's just as bad as communism in the other direction.
Yeah.
Because the way the two ideologies hurt the lowest people.
Yeah.
Regardless. Whereas if you have something in the middle, that's the ideal. Something in the middle that brings
hybrid system.
Yeah, which helps the lower people. Until we get rid of that, none of our problems are going away.
But it's just funny because when the Affordable Care Act went into effect, when that rule was passed in the Affordable Care Act, I was like, oh man, that's a great idea. Yeah, they should absolutely have to pay out 80% of the money that because before that, they were paying out whatever it was, probably less than 50%, and then being able to keep the rest of the money.
Right.
So yeah, they are having to pay out more, but the problem is they're paying out to whatever just to make themselves more money. So, and in the long run, the next year or 2 years after, it's hurting lower income people because their premiums are going up.
Right. Yeah. Which would force them to get on the Affordable Care Act in the first place, which is kind of creates a cycle of, because the idea of the Affordable Care Act wasn't to insure everybody. I mean, it started out as universal, but what it is essentially...
It didn't start out as universal. It started out with a universal buy-in.
Right. So, but ultimately...
A Medicaid buy-in.
But ultimately what it became was just, let's basically increase Medicaid for the people and try to fix some of the problems within the insurance industry. That's what it ended up becoming. I kind of forgot where I was going with that just because it's like this so complicated.
It actually started out as a Heritage Foundation plan. Mm-hmm. So the Heritage Foundation is a Republican think tank.
Right.
Like the Affordable Care Act was an idea that they tried to pass in the late 90s and didn't work or didn't get passed, obviously.
Right.
And then so it was kind of revived. And then what the Democrats wanted to do was put a Medicare for all option. You could buy into Medicare through the exchange.
Right.
And then that got stripped out because who's the senator ran with Al Gore?
Oh, that was Lieberman.
Yeah, Joe Lieberman. It was because of Joe Lieberman that they had to strip that plan out. Mm-hmm. And then after that, he switched over to he became Republican. But
right. He was something else.
But anyway, you look at Affordable Care Act and you see, it's and it has done. It's done a lot of good.
Oh yeah,
and the good has outweighed the bad. But there's glaring issues with the Affordable Care Act that unfortunately no one's really trying to address. People are either like, let's scrap it and have nothing, basically go back to what it was, or let's have a universal health care plan, Medicare for all, which I don't think is necessarily a good idea either.
Well, just because, and I agree with you. The problem is it's not that the idea is bad or the plan is bad. It's the people who are going to be in charge of running it are bad.
What I would say is Medicare for all is. I don't think forcing something like that over everyone is ever going to work.
Right.
And that's why I kind of
it wouldn't necessarily be forcing. It's just this is your option if you want to do something more.
There was a part of the Democratic Party, the Bernie wing, if you want to call it that. They wanted to get rid of private insurance altogether and only have Medicare for everyone. And like I said,
you can't do that.
You can't do that, and that's why I liked what Pete Buttigieg was trying to do. Is like we can have Medicare for all for anyone that wants it.
Right.
Like if you want it, buy into it. That's fine.
Right.
And have that be the plan. And then if you want to keep your private insurance, keep your private insurance because as long as our employer is paying. Because I see how much they pay on a monthly basis into our insurance plan. As long as they're providing that for our insurance, I would rather stay on my insurance plan than go to Medicare.
I agree.
So, and that's why I think if you come into and try to force Medicare on everyone, it's not going to pass. You're never going to win on a platform with that because there's too many people in this country that even though that there's a lot of people that would buy into it for sure. There's a lot of people that don't want to and don't want to have something forced on them.
And I mean, I know in the UK you get your NHA and whatever it is card basically at birth.
Yeah,
but people can buy their own private insurance in the UK.
Yeah.
As supplemental.
It's expensive.
It is, but it's supplemental, but they have that option.
And the same thing in Canada.
So I don't understand why that can't work here.
Yeah.
It's there if you want it. If you get hurt and you don't have insurance, you go to the doctor, you have your national health system card.
Yeah.
Boom, you're done. If you want a supplemental and extra coverage or better coverage where you can maybe not have to worry about surgeries or waiting for. I don't know. I don't even know what the benefit of that would be in the UK. Now that I think about it,
it just because the health insurance plan, like I'm not really sure with the UK, but with Canada, there's stuff, and I'm assuming it's probably the same.
It's pretty
thing.
similar, yeah.
In Canada, it's like tiered. So the more emergent it is, or the surgery is, or the care is, you go in first.
Right.
But there's supplemental plans you can buy outside of that because there's some stuff that it doesn't cover, whether it's plastic surgery and things like that.
Right.
Things that are elective. Because elective surgeries, if you're going to get an elective surgery, you're probably going to wait, 2 years to get it.
Right.
Whereas
through the NHS or
through the national healthcare system, yes. Yeah. So you can have a supplemental plan where you can go to. If you're in Canada, you can go to the U.S. and get it done or whatever it is.
Right.
And there are people that do that.
Yeah. Makes sense to me.
Yeah. If you want it done faster, you pay for it and come here to do it.
Right.
And then have have us botch your surgery and
Right. Well, I mean, you get the right surgeon, you're fine, but that again costs money,
So we made it through an entire episode and didn't talk about the topic we were supposed to talk about.
That's okay. It was a free for all. It was madness. Madness, I say.
It was me complaining about truck drivers that did it all, right?
Yeah, it was all right. I didn't feel there was very hateful. You were just kind of stating views on.
There seems to be like and that's why I was like jokingly like, hey, it's time for why Nick hates the internet or hates social media. Because it's something like every week on one of those groups. It's like, come on, people. And that's why, like, number one rule, because we have a Facebook group for the Vinyl Den. Mm-hmm. The number one rule in the group is, if you don't like something, like, keep scrolling.
Right.
Because I will fucking delete your shit.
And there's nothing wrong with not
I kick people out of the group and fucking ban them for
it's not
being dipshits.
It's not about, if you don't like it, pass out. Keep going. But if you're going to make a comment about something you don't like, be respectful about it.
Be civil about it.
Be civil and explain why you don't like it in a reasonable way. Just saying something is shit and anyone who likes it is shit, that's not going to get anyone
And those
anywhere.
are the kind of comments you get. But it's funny. It's like last night when I was at work. It was a busy night at work. At our emergency department, there is routinely, 40 to 60 people in our waiting room on a lot of nights. And last night was a busy night. And there were some people that had been sitting there for over 6 hours. And there was a lady that was really pissed off that she'd been sitting there that long. So I had a second where I wasn't doing anything, so I went over and was talking to her. And one of the people in our somebody that like works like almost kind of like leadership in our position was over off to the side and thought it was really kind of funny that this lady in the waiting room was yelling at me, and this lady was pissed and she was screaming at me, and like I said, they thought it was kind of funny. But after the fact, I was talking to one of the nurses, and I'm like, it's stupid, because you have to put yourself in the patient's situation.
Right.
Like, they do not feel good. They are frustrated. They want to get help. So I understand your frustration.
Right.
I understand why you're mad. I didn't think it was something that was comical that needed to be laughed at, but
Right.
And that's the kind of thing that kind of irritates me about some of the people we work with, is they have a really hard time understanding other people's situations
Right.
and understanding other people's frustrations. And that's the same thing on social media.
Oh,
And that's why you get those arguments on social media, because people either don't care and want to inflame a situation, or just can't understand someone else's situation, or position.
No, it's fair.
Yeah. And after I talked, the lady that I was talking to, she was pissed the entire time she was out there. But
Right.
I
I mean,
whatever, yell at me.
is,
I don't care.
It is
you can
tough.
yell at me all you want.
It's tough when you're, especially if you are one of those people who do care, or do at least want to sympathize and be empathetic. It's tough because at some point you have to just say, "There's nothing I can do."
Yeah.
You
And
know?
I've said that to people.
I don't want you waiting out here any more than you want to be waiting out here. There's just nothing we can do.
There was a lady a couple of nights ago. This turned into an episode where I'm telling a lot of stories about work. But within the past week, this lady brought her elderly parents in. And they both had respiratory symptoms, so they were like isolated in a triage bay. And they were in that triage bay for several hours. It was probably like 3 or 4 hours at least. And the daughter comes out, and she's understandably pissed off. She wants to know what's going on. And I tried to explain to her, look, your parents are a higher priority. We're trying to get them back as fast as we can. And just nothing was calming her down. She was just getting pissed off about it. And eventually I was like, look, I can't magically make rooms appear.
Right.
I was still like
Polite about it.
But and then that kind of ended the situation. But there's ways, and I get pissed off and irritated with people sometimes too.
Yeah, I mean,
you just have
it's natural.
You just have to kind of keep yourself in that mind frame that you would be probably pretty similarly pissed off.
Yeah. Well, I'm the type of person, I keep all that shit bottled in. So
You internalize.
I try to internalize it until it turns into a tumor. That's what I'm hoping. I'm trying to grow a tumor. Damn it! Just internalize all that anger.
But anyway, any questions or comments, you can email us at, what's our email address?
It is lifeingeneralpod@gmail.com.
And that, we're on Facebook also, so check us out there. And that's about all I got. Until next time.
Talk to y'all later.
Peace.
Play my role, let me tell you about it. This shit right here, man, I'm about it. Only real niggas reside around me. Yo, old lady, drop a guard around me. Dip like I know you can, bitch. Show me the ropes like we in the ring. Got you some GoPros, you wanna hang. Shoulder to shoulder, them niggas basic. You know I won't lie. You know that I ain't for that fuck shit. You niggas alright, but I'm way better and she love it. Know that y'all sick as fuck. Here go this tissue, bro. We taking the dub. Hoping you get you some. This hit like a pick me up. She taking my drugs. Now they see the sign. That's some dollar signs. Now they sick as fuck. Now they sick as fuck. Tell them get well soon. Tell them get well soon. Now you sick as fuck. Get well soon.
Oh shit. Watch out, you the god Billy. Oh shit. Right now, and I'm smiling in your face, bitch. With a gold smile, you should probably make placement.